Get to the hospital now. Those 5 words from my brother changed my entire life in the time it took him to say them. If you have ever had a phone call that split your life into a before and an after, you already know exactly what I felt in that moment. Stick with me because this story only gets heavier from here. My name is Marcus Bennett. I am 39 years old, and I own a small construction company here in Chicago. Nothing glamorous, just long days, early mornings, and dust on my boots most nights when I finally get home. Everything I did, every extra hour, every missed dinner, was for my family. For my wife, Olivia, and our 8-year-old daughter, Grace. That afternoon started like any other. I was walking across the office parking lot when my phone rang. It was my brother-in-law, and his voice was shaking so badly I almost could not understand a single word he said. "Marcus, you need to get to the hospital right now," he said. "Olivia got hurt," and the guy she was with he took off. My keys slipped straight out of my hand and hit the pavement. For a second, I honestly thought I had misheard him. "What guy?" I asked, my voice suddenly very quiet. There was silence on the other end of that call, and somehow that silence answered the question louder than any words ever could. My wife of 11 years had been having an affair, and whatever had been happening behind my back had just fallen apart in the worst possible way. When I finally reached the hospital, Olivia's parents were already there, waiting near the entrance. Her mother rushed toward me, tears streaming down her face. "Marcus, please," she said, grabbing my arm. "She needs you in there." I walked into that room slowly, almost like my legs did not belong to me anymore. Olivia looked nothing like herself. Her face was bruised, one wrist wrapped in a temporary splint, small cuts scattered across her forehead. The second she saw me standing in the doorway, she started crying. "Marcus," she whispered, her voice breaking completely. I stood there and said absolutely nothing. I could not find a single word worth saying in that moment. A little while later, a doctor pulled me aside into the hallway, and what he told me next would change everything I thought I knew about my own marriage. The doctor explained everything, in short, careful sentences, like he had delivered news like this before, and knew exactly how fragile the room could get. Olivia had been at a cabin near a lake, almost 2 hours outside the city, with another man. They had gotten into an argument. He had been drinking, but got behind the wheel anyway, with Olivia still sitting in the passenger seat. He lost control on a curve, hit a guardrail, and fled before anyone arrived. He left her there, alone, in the wreckage, alone. The same way she had already left me, quietly, emotionally, for almost a year without me ever noticing. I sat down beside her hospital bed. She cried harder. "I made a mistake," she said. "Please, don't leave me. A mistake. People make mistakes when they burn dinner or forget to pay a bill on time. Nobody accidentally spends nearly a year lying to the person they promised to spend their entire life with." That night, sitting alone in my truck outside the hospital, I learned the rest of it. The girls' nights that were never really girls' nights, the work conferences that never actually existed, a second phone hidden in the bottom of her gym bag, and worst of all, a few of our closest friends had known the whole time, and had said absolutely nothing to me. I felt humiliated in a way I had never experienced before. But that was not even the part that hurt the most. What truly broke something inside me was realizing how calm she had always looked. Every single time she lied straight to my face, in the days that followed, everyone suddenly became an expert on forgiveness. Her mother begged me not to tear our family apart. My own sister told me, "People make mistakes, Marcus, think about Grace." Even our pastor said something about how a strong marriage survives every storm, funny thing. Nobody ever talks about how the betrayed person is supposed to survive the storm happening inside their own chest. Olivia came home 2 weeks later, a cast on her wrist and enough guilt to fill our entire house. But guilt does not undo anything. Every time she reached for my hand, I saw another man's hands instead. Every time she whispered, "I love you," all I could hear were the lies buried underneath those words. One night, I found myself sitting alone in our kitchen at 2 in the morning. She came downstairs and saw me there, and what she said next would push me toward a decision I never thought I would actually have to make. "I'll do anything," Olivia said, standing in the kitchen doorway at 2 in the morning. "Therapy, counseling. I'll even quit my job if that's what it takes. Please, don't throw us away." I looked at her for a long, silent moment before I finally spoke. "You already threw us away," I said, calm and quiet. That single sentence broke her more than the crash itself ever had. But here is something nobody ever tells you about betrayal. When trust dies, love does not always disappear right away. Sometimes it stays alive just long enough to torture you slowly, day after day. For weeks, I really did try. I forced myself to smile for Grace every single morning, even when I felt completely hollow inside. I sat through counseling sessions, listening to Olivia cry about her regrets over and over. I heard apology after apology, but none of it reached the empty space that had settled somewhere deep in my chest. Then, one evening, I came home earlier than usual. I heard Olivia upstairs laughing on speakerphone with a friend. "I just want my old life back," she said. Her old life. Not her old husband, not our marriage, just her old life. That was the moment everything finally became clear to me. She was not devastated because she had broken my heart. She was devastated because the consequences had finally caught up with her after nearly a year of getting away with it completely. The next morning, I called a lawyer. 3 months later, our divorce was finalized in a small, quiet courtroom. Olivia cried through almost the entire hearing. Even the judge seemed uncomfortable watching it unfold. But strangely, I felt calm, almost peaceful, in a way I had not felt in a very long time. The biggest surprise came afterward. The man Olivia had been with disappeared completely. He never contacted her again, not once. Rumor had it he moved out of state shortly after the crash investigation wrapped up. She lost him, she lost our marriage, and eventually, she even lost several of the friends who had helped her keep the affair hidden for so long. As for me, I focused everything I had left on Grace, on my work, and on slowly rebuilding a life I actually recognized as my own again. But it was something Grace said to me almost a year later, during one of our quiet movie nights together, that finally showed me exactly how far I had come. We were sitting on the couch together, a bowl of popcorn balanced between us, halfway through her favorite movie, when Grace suddenly wrapped her arms around me and whispered, "Dad, you smile more now." Those 5 simple words hit me harder than almost anything else that entire year, because she was right. Somewhere between that phone call in the parking lot, the hospital room, and countless quiet nights afterward, I had slowly started becoming myself again. The pain faded, little by little. The nightmares finally stopped visiting me. The anger that used to flare up over the smallest things eventually cooled down into something quieter, something I could actually carry without it crushing me. But forgiveness, real forgiveness, never came the way everyone around me expected it to. I do not hate Olivia. I truly do not. Somewhere along the way, hating her would have meant continuing to give her a piece of my life she no longer deserved. But some betrayals do not simply leave scars that fade with time. They take away entire pieces of your heart forever. And once that piece is gone, no apology whispered in a hospital room can ever bring it back. Looking back now, I understand something I could not have understood in the middle of all that chaos. Betrayal does not just break trust between 2 people. It quietly reshapes who you become afterward, whether you want it to or not. I became more careful, more aware, more present with Grace than I probably would have been if none of this had ever happened. And maybe that is the strangest part of this entire story. Something that nearly destroyed me also somehow made me a better father, a more grounded man, someone who no longer takes peace for granted. If you have ever loved someone who lied straight to your face and made it look effortless, you already know this feeling never fully disappears overnight. It changes the way you see everything and everyone around you. If this story hit close to home for you, if you have ever experienced betrayal or had to rebuild your life from nothing, I want to hear about it. Share your own story down in the comments, because someone else scrolling through right now might really need to hear it today. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end, and I will see you in the next story.